Hello everyone, this is Lori from Grammy's Keepsakes, and this is part one of our tutorial of making a day at the beach. This is the journal that we're going to make, and the digital kit was from Studio 28E, and inside this pocket we had that encaustic bag that we made out of one of the pages, and here in this we have a pocket here, and we have a pocket back here, two journals kept in with elastic, and here we've got a pocket and it flips, another pocket, a little journal, and 4 stacking pockets here. So let's get started. What we need first is, have you got your papers ready? This is all of the printed at full size of the whole digital kit for a day at the beach. I've got them already coffee dyed. They're set to go. Put them aside, and I'm going to use 3 file folders. You can use 2 file folders and then 3 or 4 pieces of cardstock, or you can just go ahead and make it happen with 3 file folders. So what we need to do first is straighten the edge, because when you make file folders are never square, and we want this to be square, and so I'm just cutting a piece off of one side, and then we need this to be 7 5/8 inches long. So here we have our 7 5/8. And this is the side that I did square. Hang on to this. We're going to use it for some other things. And now we'll put this aside, and let's do that to one more folder. And as you can see, I'm squaring off to use the part of the folder that does not have the tab. And I've just got this butted up against this edge here and cut it straight. And I need this to be 7 5/8 also. Okay, and I've got some notes written here, and this one we're going to wait until later to play with. So we can put our 3rd file folder away for now. And I'm reading my notes. And okay, one of the file folders needs to be 16 3/8 inches long. So that means I have to get my ruler and a pencil. And I think what I'm going to do is go ahead and cut this off. I'll still have enough file folder. So then I'm going to be nice and square. Now I have a right angle. So 16 3/8. So here I've got 12. So I need another 4 3/8. Find my little pencil mark. Boy, that was a faint little mark. I think that's it. Yes, okay. 4 3/8 right there, and that'll be 16 3/8. So we can go ahead and cut that off. Okay, now I'm going to put this aside for right now and get the scoreboard out. And I want to score at 5 inches, 6 1/8, 11 1/8. Now I'm going to turn it around this side because it's too long, and I'm going to score at 3 1/2. And now we're going to score at every 1/8 inch between this line and this line. And it's a file folder, so I need a little bit of pressure. Got it. So do you see what we did? This is going to be the fold or the hinge for this flap to be our cover, because these two score marks, we're going to go ahead and fold on those. So there's our hinge, and this is going to wrap around. So we're going to do a lot of folding on this one. And my trick on folding this is to use the edge of the desk and just pull it around like this so that you can get the edge of the desk, and it will help round it for you so you don't have to physically fold each one of those score marks. And if you just work with it and play with it a few times, and I'm just using the edge of my scoreboard now, pretending this is the edge of my desk, but it's definitely easier and more comfortable to use the edge of your desk to just get that curve. Okay, so now this one, this is our other piece, and we're going to open that up, and we're going to cut one of the sides to 5 inches. So see where the natural fold is for the file folder? I'm using that. Line that up. So we're just cutting one side. Okay, now we need the scoreboard back. And with this natural fold, what I want to do, see it's at the 5 inches, pull it over to the right so that it's halfway between 5 and 5 1/8 inches. Do you see how it's kind of Make sure I'm on screen. It's halfway between. That's where I want it. Now I'm going to score at 6 1/8 and at 11 1/8. Move the scoreboard out of the way. And I'm just folding up that score mark. And we're going to give, let's see, it's going to go in this way. We're going to fold it this way. And this, I'm going to go ahead and give it a fold. And we do have to cut this down just a little tiny bit. So I'm placing this score on 2 1/4, or it might be easier to see it this way. We're placing it right there on 2 1/4. And hold it down, flip it over, and cut that off. So this is what I'm not using. Okay, now this is what we do. It's going to fit inside this way. See, by making that spine a 1/16 of an inch shorter or shallower, it nests inside really super easy. And so this flap is now the pocket, and this flap is our cover. So this is where we are right now. So now what we're going to do is go ahead and do some gluing. So this is our outside cover. We're going to get my tear ruler, and I'm going to use this for my guide so that I get it to be just like it is. This is what we're going to tear and glue on, these 3 pieces. So here are 2 of them. So we're gonna, this one is gonna fit right here in the middle. So I want to tear it, and do you see where the fold demarcation is on the digital? That's where I'm going to tear it, just to the left of that. And this side, I'm going to tear it right here on the edge of the print. Not too much of that margin. You can cut them, of course. You don't have to tear them. That's just what I choose to do. And then I'm going to tear the bottom. And I am basically centering it in there to see where I want it to be. And I'm going to make a pencil mark where I want it to tear it. And this is going to be the back of our journal. And I am going to ink it. I'm using walnut stain. Use any color you'd like. But I like that little vintage look that you get when you ink the edge. And I'm not being real careful, just put some color on it. Now this is going to be our little cover, and it's going to go right here. And so what I want here is basically the little boy and the puppy. So I'm going to go ahead and rip it right here on this imaginary line. And this side, I'm going to go ahead and rip it right next to that puppy paw, just right there. And that fits on that front panel very well. Now on the bottom here, I'm going to rip it about, let's see. Well, let's just rip off the top and then we'll see what we have for the bottom. So I didn't take very much at all off the top margin. Kind of center it on there. I'm going to get my pencil out again and make a mark, guesstimating 1/8 of an inch. So right about here. So I'm not taking very much of the sand away at all. Okay, and then my tearing wasn't very straight here. So I have to compensate for that so that it's going to fit. So I'm just going to give it a little bit of a tear just to make it better. Maybe if I use the glass, sorry about the glare here for my light. I need the light though, I'm blind. Okay, I got a little bit of it off. I think it'll be just fine. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and just make it a little bit more. And go straight down. I'm applying a lot of pressure to my ruler so the paper doesn't slip like it just did. Perfect. Okay, I'm going to use my corner rounder. I like to have the corners of my flap on the round side. I don't like the square because then you feel like you're being poked. And it just gives it a little bit of a finish. And so that means I get to kind of tear a rounded corner. Diagonal in my case, but so that it fits into that. That will work. And then just ink around it. And I like that rustic look. No two will be identical. As I keep fussing with it. Yes, I like that. Okay, so we have our flap, we have our back. Now we need this. And that one is this story at the seaside. So let's find that page. Here it is. This is the one we want. So move everything aside. We need our tear ruler. And let's go ahead and get rid of our margin on this side. Trying to determine how much I want to cut off. Yeah, not too much. Okay. So I'm lining it up with the inside of my ruler so I don't make it crazy crooked again. So I just took off that much. And it's going to go here. So I think what I'm going to do is go ahead and cut it or rip it here where that blue demarcation is for the fold. That's what I'm going for. So lining up my ruler carefully. And yes, it's going to go this way. So now we want to take off some bottom and some top. I'm going to take the top off first because I want to rip it right around here. And now I can make a pencil mark here where I want to rip it. So I guess with the pencil marks, I'm making controlled rips, right? So I got a little bit crooked there. So I'm just going to go in a little bit and see if I can remedy that. Wonderful. Oh, I like that. Much better. Now I'm going to go ahead and ink around it. End up drifting off camera. Sorry about that. And save this. We need it for our inside side pockets. We're just not ready to do those yet. But so this is our progress so far. Now I'm going to pause the video. I will be right back. Okay, I'm back. And what I'm going to do now is go ahead and glue these 3 pieces on, and I'm just using a glue stick. And I have the short flap to my left. Trying to center it. Kinda, sorta. It's hard to see. I don't want to get my head in the way. Okay, now we're going to do the same thing for this one. And let's center that between all of our hinges and our spine, and also top to bottom. And I just like to use my bone folder to make sure I have it without bubbles. Now we're going to do the seaside. I'm going to turn it a little bit just so I can see a little bit better. Looking good. We're going to do some stitching, but we're not ready yet. So on this side of the flap, we want to use one of our scraps from our folder, and we're going to cut a strip 2.5 inches wide for this little pocket here. And it's going to be by 7 5/8. So let's go ahead and cut that. I'm using my big cutter off to the side now. So 2.5 by 7 5/8. So this is what I have. Now I need that corner rounder again. I'm using the 1/2 inch. And this is going to go right here. So we can go ahead and glue this onto here. So this is the other part of that page that we used and saved. So I'm going to go ahead and tear down the margin here. And grab my pencil again. I suppose it's hard to see when I'm on top of the craft color. So we'll use the table. I'm going to bring it down a little bit more so you can see the straight edge. So right there, and bring it up about right there. Line up my tear ruler with my marks. Save this piece. It's going to go in our other flap. And this is going to go right on here. So I need to tear some of this margin off the top because I just want the blue. I'm placing it on this flap just to make sure that I'm using the right side. And what I want to do now is make a mark down here where I want it to rip, about right there. Okay, there it is. Couldn't find my mark. It's in that rock. So this is going to fit on here. So again, I need to kind of rip my little corners. And ink that up. My little dauber needs to have its sponge replaced. I'm losing pieces. I was hoping to get all this done in like a half an hour, but we're running over. Yep, that works. Now let's go ahead and glue it on. And I'm going to give this long straight edge a little bit of ink too, because we're going to give a stitch right down here before we attach this. So here we got our pocket going on. So what we need to do is grab the inside of our journal, and we're going to cover this flap and this flap because we need to do some stitching on it too before we assemble. So here we have the other part of the story. I'm going to go ahead and tear off the margin here so it's just blue. And where do we need to tear? Let's use that pencil again. It works so well. Right here. And bring it up. And right here. Hold it down. And place it and determine the length. Looks like right there. Right in my rocks again. Did that work? Yes. Okay. I'm just going to ink around that. And let's apply some glue. Make sure I'm okay with my glue book. I'm not too sticky yet. And apply it to that flap. Trying to get all the centering going on. And if it's not perfect, that's okay. That's the nature of the whole thing. Okay, looks okay. Now we need to do this part. And for that part, I have this sand picture. Oops, I'm losing my pieces. Let's throw them in. They're there somewhere. And here, it's the this half of this page that we're going to use right here. So I'm going to tear it right here first at the yellow demarcation from the fold, because I don't want that in it. Save this. We're using this. So how far do we want it? Let's go. Here is good. And it's actually going to be underneath the flap, so it does not need to be this wide. So I'm going to use the inside of my ruler again for my guide to keep it as straight as I can. And again, that doesn't matter either because it's going to be covered up. But that perfectionist in me is telling me that I need to do the best I can. So now we're going to cut off or rip off our margins here. So I'm going for that blue again. See the bottom here, the sand, it fades into the coffee dye so well, better than the blue sky. So that's why I'm choosing to rip that side first. And then we'll just place it and make our mark. And remember our top from our bottom. We're working with the left side. And let's ink around that. So then we're consistent. I am using 28-pound paper, a premium laser paper that I printed this on. So it has a nice weight and it's easy to work with. And it's not too heavy that it's hard to work with. So let's get rid of that and go ahead and apply glue. The file folders give us a lot of flexibility with the cover, but having them double like this gives us the stability. So we have the best of both worlds. Remembering now the blue to the left, the blue is my up. And I'm focused mainly on the margin over by the spine rather than over here where it's going to be covered. And it's going to look like that. Now I'm going to give it a little bit of glue just to hold it in place up at the top and the bottom. I'm going to sew it, but I want some glue to hold it too. Because we have to punch our thumb notch. So if I've got glue holding it for me, it makes it easier. So now I want to find my center, and it is 5 inches, so it should be 2.5. Go ahead and make a mark so we can see it through our punch. And I'm going to grab one. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use the 2-inch. You can use anything you have. And I'm just centering that mark, because on the inside of my punch I have this line here, and that is the center. So that helps me. That looks good. It's not too deep, but it's deep enough that you're going to be able to grab the tag out of. So, and punch. And you're going through 2 layers of file folder over here, so that's why it took some muscle. And we don't need this anymore, so we'll put it away. Okay, now I want to open that up because we're going to stitch down here. Okay, we are good to go. So I'm going to stitch here on this edge. I'm just using a straight stitch. And now I'm going to fold this back over, and we're going to stitch here, around, and here. And I'm going to stop at the spine. And then just give it a quick ink. And this we're going to stitch straight up across here. Okay, we're going to put this aside for just a moment. And this, we're going to place this right here on this. So I'm going to use just a wee bit of the art glitter glue. Just to help me hold it down. And this stuff dries super fast, so we don't have to worry. So I'm just lining up the curves and the edges. Make sure we are lined up. Double check. It looks good. Okay. What I'm going to do is sew from this hinge, all those where the score marks where we made it round. We're going to sew from there all the way around and then straight up. So we're not going into all the score marks. We're leaving those alone. Coming around the corner. One more corner. Up to the score marks and straight up. I did a little bit of a back stitch. And we're going to put the machine aside. And now what I'm going to do is on this side of where I stitched, I'm going to go around with the ink, and that way any paper that I punched through and leaves a little white mark from sewing, it camouflages it right up, and it gives it that distressed look also. So our front flap is done, pocket and all. So now what we need to do is fit this in. We opened this up before, so that I could get in there and sew it. So I'm going to close it back up. Makes it a little bit easier to work with. So now I'm going to fit the spines together, making sure that my book is all in the right direction. Okay, it's fitting. So now what I want to do is glue just this spine area. Kind of generous with the art glitter glue here. Use whatever glue you have. Okay. Lining it up, pictures on the inside, my spine, nested together, get it good and seated, right together, and press it down. This is awesome. Looking good. Looks a little crazy right now, but that's okay. We're doing great. So now what we need to do, this is going to be our pocket. Leave this alone for right now. We're working here. This is what we need to do. We're going to apply glue all over this generously. Not over the top, but generous. And I just put glue on my front pocket. Not a good idea. Okay, now we're going to flip that over and press it. And I'm folding it again, making sure that I'm all square and lined up. Looking more like a journal now, isn't it? We're getting there. This is our pocket. So what we're going to do with this is apply glue around this edge and the bottom. And close it up. Press it down. Fold it, make sure we're good. Okay, now we're going to sew from here around and back up. And you know what I just thought of? Before we glued that shut, let's open it up again quick before it attaches. Okay, I want to sew across this top because this is the pocket and I want to sew that now. Goodness, I can't believe I forgot about that. But good thing I remembered now rather than later. Now we're good. Now we need that glued shut. Talk about double gluing, right? Nobody's perfect. We're not a professional here. I just like to have fun. Now we're going to close it up and press it down. That was a quick, easy remedy, wasn't it? Now I'm going to stitch around on 3 sides. And because it is a pocket, I'm going to back stitch. looks like I got a little ball of thread there. That adds to character, doesn't it? So now we have a working pocket. Awesome. Now what I'm going to do is, double checking my old one, is I'm going to go ahead and sew from here across, down, across, back up, and up. And again, take the ink and just go across all the stitching. So for my spine, the only stitching exactly on the spine is the bottom and the top. Otherwise, I've got all 4 sides of the back and all 4 sides of the front. But the top was done separately on both, so we have a working pocket. And then we went all the way around our tab. And then this is going to be a series of pockets. That's why I did not cover this, because it would all get hidden. So in our next part, we will continue and make some more goodness. We've got some journaling cards to make, do that encaustic pouch, put our eyelets in, and we have a panel that we need to put in and put up here too with pockets. So I'll see you back for part 2. Thank you very much for watching.